Hi there and welcome to tutorial 37. Today we're going to be looking at a Howard Jones track called New Song, sometimes known as Metal Chains, which found its way onto the 1984 album Humans Lib. There's lots and lots of parts to the song, and one of the parts is the pluck sound. I've called it Howard Jones Pluck. And that's kind of starts off with the sound, starts off the track with that sound with a couple of congas. So we're going to find out how to make that sound and go to an initial setting. Just check that, yeah, there we are. And we've got oscillators 1 and 2 on a 16-foot pitch, and they're both on a pulse waveform of pulse width 72. Pulse width 72. And the only reason why I've done two oscillators on exactly the same setting is just for a bit of added depth. It's a tiny bit louder as well with adding two together, and they're not out of phase with each other, they're not detuned. So we then move on to the filter section, and we've got a filter amount, a low pass filter, 24 dB per octave, cut off 88. There we are, cut off 88. And resonance 57. Key track 89. Now, even though it's a plucky kind of sound, we don't have to use any filter envelope on it. The pluckness, the short percussive effect, comes from the amplifier envelope. We're going to put velocity on 0 and attack time 0, decay 56, and sustain 0. So you can hear it disappearing there. We'll need a bit of release time on there as well, 53. And a bit of reverb. Reverb time 59. And level 23. So we can add that to the track. The next sound that we're going to be looking at is the organ sound. And there's actually two organ sounds featured on here, and I'll explain what the slight difference is between those two. Now, Howard Jones would have either favoured a Jupiter 8 or a Prophet 5, and all of these sounds can be got on either of those synths. So we're going to have a look at the first organ sound, which is the sort of pad sound, or the first chordal sound that we hear. So we need oscillator 1. We'll put it to the initial setting. Oscillator 1 is pulse wave 50. Oscillator 2, pulse wave 50. And we need two different octaves on this. We need oscillator 1 on an 8-foot pitch, and oscillator 2 on a 2-foot pitch. And one of the ways of setting up an organ sound is that the organ sound is made up of, similar to the drawbars on a Hammond organ, different footages that are set up by the drawbars on an organ and the oscillators on the synth. We're going to use a bit of pulse width modulation on that, so we need to set up LFO1 on pulse width modulation, and we need speed 40 and depth 42. Now you might think, well, why do we need the pulse width modulation? It kind of is similar to the sound produced by a Leslie speaker, so it's given a bit of ensemble effect or richness to the sound. We're also going to be using the filter in an interesting way. The filter is low pass, 24 dB per octave, cut off 78, and resonance is 88. Now, as I increase the resonance, you can hear a harmonic coming through. And with a two oscillator synth, the only way of getting that harmonic was through the filter rather than through a separate oscillator. So that's what we've got there. And key track 96. That means that will track up and down the keyboard and maintain that overtone coming in there. And then we want some reverb. No need to adjust the filter envelope or the amplifier envelope. It's straight organ on and off. And the reverb time is 73 and the level 29. And that gives us, the other thing is that we need to balance the two oscillators here. At the moment, you could quite easily have those two at full volume, but we've dropped the second oscillator to 80. So that's like pushing in one of the drawbars on a Hammond organ. Now that's for the chord sound. We also need one for the answer phrase to that chord sound, which is the kind of that part, but we need to add in some chorus and some drive. The drive circuit gives us a little bit of distortion. We're going to put a value of 19 on that, but it also introduces a bit of brightness to the sound, which helps pinpoint the sound in the mix. And the chorus is speed 85. Ooh, there we go. Which is a little bit like a Leslie speaker as well. Depth, we're going to drop the depth to 24. And that gives us our sound. Our kind of answering phrase sound. So we'll add that to the track as well. And now onto the bass sound, the one that starts with etc. and carries on throughout the track. It actually goes quite low, does this one. It goes down to this C, but also this A. So it's quite a range that the bass covers. And to set that up, we're going to go to an initial setting. And we need oscillator 1 on a 32-foot pitch, and that's going to be a square wave. This is a classic bass setup for virtually any bass. Oscillator 2 is an octave higher on a 16-foot pitch, and again, we're going to use a sawtooth waveform, and that's a classic blend between square and sawtooth. And we're going to have a little bit of detune in there, just for a little bit of richness. It's quite a buzzy sound at the moment, but we need to alter the filter. The first thing that I'm going to alter is the filter envelope, or contour as it's sometimes known, and that is on an amount of 21. We won't quite hear that just yet, but when we adjust the filter, the cut-off, the low-pass filter, 24 dB per octave, cut-off 60. And already you can hear the percussive sound because we've put the envelope amount on the filter. We need a little bit of resonance in there, about 9. 9 should do it, that's it. Key track 64, so key track's in the middle. And filter envelope, attack 0, decay 55. You can hear as I move the decay from a longer time to a shorter time, we get a more percussive effect. There we are. Sustain 0, release 0, amplifier envelope, velocity 0, attack time 0, decay. In fact, let's put the sustain to 0 so we can hear a bit of the decay time. 79. So the sound is dying away to that value there. But in actual fact, we want to bring the sustain up to 24. So it's sustaining in there, and a bit of release time 50. And that's our bass sound. And we'll add that to the track. And the final sound is the lead sound, the lead synth sound, and that's the bit that sounds like this. And we need oscillator 1 on an 8-foot pitch, oscillator 2 on an 8-foot pitch, and we need a sawtooth waveform on each of those. But first of all, obviously we need to set that to the initial setting, and let's do that once again. So sawtooth waveform, 8-foot pitch. There we are. So we're actually not that far from the sound already, except one of the characters of the sound is the phasing between the oscillators, and we achieve that by detuning. And the more you detune it, obviously the more detuned it gets. But the setting that we're looking for here is +6. And we need to set up the fact that that's mono, so press in the mono button, and we need to set up the wheel or the aftertouch, because that works as well for vibrato. We're using a sine wave on oscillators 1 and 2, and the speed is 50. A bit fast there, that's better, and the depth 21. That's pretty much the sound, because we don't actually need to mess with the filter or the amplifier envelope. The filter's fully open, so it's almost our classic super saw waveform, but we do need to add a bit of reverb, and the reverb time is 100. So quite a bit of reverb there, but the level is 16, so it reduces it to a subtle amount. Now there's also a kind of an echo effect on the track, and this has been done by recording the first part and then duplicating the track and delaying it. So that's a really good way to do that. And that completes Howard Jones's track New Song, and let's hear that now.